Check out the Full Press Hockey Podcast with Jim Biringer, the best in the business. It's going to be great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is the Full Press NHL Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Biringer, the voice of Full Press Hockey, joined by David Calabretta. We're back with another Rumors and Inside the look at the Montreal Canadiens and New Jersey Devils. David, welcome back, bud.
Happy to be back, man. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Let's start off. Montreal Canadiens starting to play a little bit better. I think they play a little bit better when they know they could get embarrassed by a team like the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, I mean, it's something in Montreal with always playing against good teams. They love it. They love it. And, it's been a better 4 or 5 games in Montreal, I think they've transferred to the hybrid system a little bit more, and you're seeing better results defensively, which was probably the biggest problem so far. Montembeault stood on his head against the Oilers, but Montreal played a great game as well. So it helps having a better system.
No doubt it does. I mean, look, I've been impressed. Like, you're seeing, obviously, Caulfield's still playing well. Slafkovsky's got a little bit more to his game. Defensively, I think they've slowed things down a little bit. But like you said, the goaltending has been the key. If Montembeault can play like that every game, they're going to be in every game, and they can play a lot better. But it's weird. Like, what's with it with Montreal, like playing up to good teams and playing down to bad teams?
I don't know. I guess maybe the energy in the locker room. Maybe, the coach is putting a bit more emphasis on the big games. I mean, look, you're playing Connor McDavid. I'm sure you're hyped. The media is asking you questions about playing against Connor McDavid. So you're going to, have that extra kick to it. Hudson, before the game, he said how surreal it felt playing against him. And, they locked him down, especially Kaden Guhle and Mike Matheson. So when you're playing the best players in the league, a good team, Stanley Cup finalists, you're more enticed to play a better game. But in the end, it's the NHL. Every game's hard. So you have to keep that energy for all 31 teams.
Yeah, no, it's understandable. And they're still learning. And they're still learning how to play with Martin St. Louis, right? And everybody said you got to be patient. Obviously, we know they have one of the best prospect systems, Demidov and, what they have on the team right now. And guys that are hurt, like David Reinbacher, guys like that. And it just looks like they really just need to take another step this season because I think the pressure's on next year when the season begins.
Yeah, I mean, not many rebuilding teams have that pressure just going into their 1 year of contending, their first year of contending, but the pressure is going to be on Montreal, and I think we're going to have a good idea, obviously Demidov's coming in next year, but the majority of the core is here now. With Laine going to come back. I think we want to see how that goes into the picture. Is Kirby Dach going to improve? He's still trying to find his game. Slafkovsky, after a full season, we want to see what we got in him. Hudson. So, there's a lot of hockey left to be played. But if the Montreal Canadiens could, maybe go 500 for the season, next year could be a fun year.
Yeah, I mean, 500 would be great. And like you said, we've been harping on this when we do the program together. Once Patrick Laine gets into the fold, now we're going to really see what this team is because they brought him in to help that offense. And their offense is still struggling. And he was there for the power play too. And I think, once he gets in the lineup, I think you're going to see a bolt from his players. And I think it's going to help a guy like Kirby Dach.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Dach's been playing on the wing right now because he doesn't really have a supporting cast on the second line. But I think when Laine's back, he's going to be on that second line with Newhook and Laine again. They're going to try it. So Dach's going to go back to center. And look, we haven't really seen Dach play center with capable top 6 wingers yet, because of injuries and stuff. So I think him and Laine, they wanted to do it in the preseason. They only got 1 game together. So I think they're going to be reunited.
Staying in Montreal for a minute, and we saw what happened in Boston on Tuesday. Jim Montgomery's let go, and we've made a big deal about this on this program. This is something we've talked about. You've written articles about it as well. Now that Jim Montgomery's gone, I quote tweeted you the other day, and when people were saying, "Oh, hey, Montgomery," maybe I'm like, we've been talking about it. Thoughts on Montgomery to Montreal?
Oof, that would be amazing. That would be amazing, to get some help from Martin St. Louis behind the bench. I've said it before. They lack experience, and it shows in the big moments sometimes. But it all has to do with Jim Montgomery wants to be an assistant coach in Montreal. But there's a difference between being assistant coach in Montreal and assistant coach in let's say St. Louis, for example. Montreal, I think he'd have a lot more say than a regular assistant coach would have to say. St. Louis is going to be the guy, the head coach,
Right.
but Montgomery is going to be one of the more active associate coaches, if that makes sense. But again, he's going to get offers for head coach position soon enough. Few other coaches on the hot seat, and Montgomery is definitely number one on their list. So it's completely up to him if he wants to go be the main boss or a lighter role.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, with Montreal, look, if they're out of the playoff mix, David Savard's name is going to continue to come up in trade talks. It already is. Teams are already asking about him. But again, it's tough because the salary cap at this time of year, you really can't trade a player like that. But do you expect David Savard to be moved?
Yeah. As the days go on, I have a feeling he gets moved early this season, kind of like Sean Monahan. And there was reports by David Pagnotta saying that they might trade him sooner rather than later because they don't want him to get injured. And the reality is people are looking for defensemen already. So it's going to be a lingering problem for teams, and Savard could be a solution. I wouldn't say he's getting traded now, but as we approach the Four Nations tournament, that could be a timeline.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Edmonton needs D. Nashville needs D. Most of the league always needs D. I mean, it's hard to find D and centers. Like those, it seems like everybody wants D and centers, but I think Savard's a very, very valuable asset. Maybe you could get a second round, maybe get a first round pick like last time when he was traded by Tampa, but I could definitely see second round for sure.
Yeah, I think maybe, Chris Tanev return.
Yeah, that's a pretty good return.
Second and a prospect. But if that's the price, I think unless they get a first round pick, they might hold on to him a little while.
Yeah.
But, right-hand defenseman, teams are going to pay.
No, understandable for sure. So, I mean, a lot to look going on for the Montreal Canadiens. Nice young team. Before we dive into even more rumors, that the Devils have been, they've been off for a little bit. They got a big couple of divisional matchups coming up, but they went through Florida and played really well outside of the game in Tampa, but they were in it. Jacob Markstrom, again, continues to quiet the haters and quiet the fan base despite what they want to see via the former Montreal Canadiens goaltender Jake Allen. Jake Allen's performed well too, but he's here to be the backup. Markstrom's your guy. And the Devils have played well, especially against the defending Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, the Devils have proven, that they could play against the big dogs, and that's what you need after missing the playoffs. And look, they're getting good goaltending in Jake Allen. Markstrom, he's been good. He's had a few iffy games, but that's going to come. But he's looking like a number one, and there's no doubt that he's the number one guy.
Yeah. I mean, I like Jake Allen, what he brings. I mean, the fact that it continues, you continue to hear Tom Fitzgerald say that he had to convince Jake Allen to come here, and that the influence of Marty Brodeur when they were together in St. Louis really says a testament to what the Devils have rebuilt as an organization, because there was a long time where guys didn't want to come to New Jersey. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, who wouldn't want to play there now? They have a very talented young team. And I'll ask you something too on New Jersey. Timo Meier, all is good on there?
Yeah, he back at practice, back spasms. I think also a little bit of the running joke is with a couple of guys on the internet that I talk to that I know wash your hands, NHL players, guys, the flu's going around, sicknesses, guys, stuff like that. But he was back at practice. Looks like he's going to be playing. And like I said, 2 divisional matchups against Carolina, another team that frustrates the Devils like the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then you have Washington, the surprise team. I don't know Alex Ovechkin, but still, that's a still good team even without Ovi.
Yeah, look, these are 2 big games, divisional games, Capitals, Hurricanes, both top 2 teams in the Metro right now with the Rangers and the Devils. I mean, they're all playing great hockey right now, and these are important points coming up.
Well, especially for New Jersey, because let's be honest, I think Carolina put the playbook out on how to beat a Devils team. Even though it was a different Devils team, they still struggle with adjusting to the neutral zone. They still can't cheat the game. Sheldon Keefe's the right guy for this team, but they got to stay with the little details, can't get frustrated. Even when things are going bad, when you're getting goalie, don't try to overpass, shoot the puck. And that's what they've been doing, like the game against San Jose, the game against Tampa. Try to overpass. Just shoot the puck. Good things happen when you put the puck on net. I would expect with New Jersey being in playoff position later in the year. I expect them to do something as well. Maybe add a center, add to their fourth line, because right now you're playing your three lines and they're getting taxed and you can see it. They have to get a better fourth line. Hopefully Nathan Bastian comes back soon, but they need to get depth players, especially Lazar out as long as he did, and Bastian hurt with the broken jaw. You're going to need some more reinforcements along the way.
Yeah, maybe add some size down there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, definitely. For sure.
I liked Kevin Ball in New Jersey. Obviously, he had no space anymore, but he's a big body and he's someone you might need right now. But we'll go to the forward maybe and add some height, add some, skill and grit.
So I brought this up, and I'll probably write this in the column, but I've been thinking about this ever since he went to Columbus, and it's a good time for nice transition here. Kevin LeBanc, if he continues to play the way he's playing, his cap hit will be a little bit less. Maybe that's a player the New Jersey Devils revisit later down the road.
Yeah, I think they should have signed him.
I agree.
And he had a great camp. I was like, why are they letting him walk over? I know he's like a fan favorite down there, Thomas Tatar, but it was between them two, right?
Well, Tatar has signed a $1.1 million contract, and then they signed Mercer to the $4 million extension. They just didn't have the cap space to sign him to $750,000. He would have had to go through waivers. Then, the mathematics of everything, they would have had to do cap gymnastics to call up guys to get the money to work. Similar to what we saw when Kane came into New York, they had to do all these cap gymnastics to make the money work. I think somebody would have plucked them off waivers anyway.
Yeah, and LeBanc is also playing a very important role in Columbus, playing a lot of minutes, playing on their power play. So, the points are coming, but he's looking good out there.
He is, and I like I said, I think that's a player that maybe New Jersey circles back on later on in the year when they can work him into the cap, especially because they still need a top six forward and they still need that extra offensive punch. This is a team that normally doesn't get shut out 3 times in a season. They've been shut out 3 times already.
Yeah, I mean, look, that says a lot about your offense, man.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly our offense wasn't a problem. Still think it was a problem in July. That's just my opinion. Been around the team. I'm very hypercritical of them. I see the holes that are there. They usually get addressed. So, but when I say it in July on a national radio station, not to pump my own horn and Barry Horowitz it as a wrestling reference, then you see other Devils reporters and other people talking about it 2 months into the season, might be onto something.
Yeah, and it's a little too late. And
yeah.
Look, the Devils had Marchessault in their back pocket, but then he quickly went away. So it's not like Fitzgerald really said, "Oh, we're okay." He clearly wanted some help, some secondary help, and I'm sure he's going to take that problem and address it come the deadline.
I agree with that. We talk about young players all the time, and we mention them in New Jersey. We've mentioned him in Montreal. Let's go to Columbus. We mentioned LeBanc there, but David Jiricek, young defenseman. I know it takes time for these defensemen to, grow and mature into the National Hockey League, but they have to. This feels like a similar situation to what we saw in Edmonton, where they never gave a direction to the player, and now he's back in the minors. Is he going to go up and down? And does he get to an NHL lineup where he thrives like we saw with Broberg in St. Louis? I have a feeling he's getting traded. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I have 2 things. One thing with rookies, you need transparency. You need to sit down with them and really, they have to be on board with what's happening and they have to understand what's going on. Jiricek looks like he seems like he was promised NHL minutes this year. And look, I'm a big fan of David Jiricek, and I'm a man of trade proposals, Last time Byron and Vegas. Today I'm gonna go with another one here that makes a lot of sense, and I'll explain why. David Jiricek to Seattle, Shane Wright to Columbus. Because
I like it.
Because in 2022, Seattle really wanted David Jiricek, but Shane Wright fell to their lap because of the unexpected pick in Montreal. So could that happen? Shane Wright's been scratched 2 games in a row. They drafted Berkeley Caton this summer. They have Matty Beniers on center already. Seattle, could they go? They need a right-hand defenseman. So what are your thoughts on that one?
I like that trade proposal, to be honest. I mean, look, a lot of people were talking about the last one we did. So, I mean, and it was a good trade proposal. And a lot of people said to me, that's not a bad idea. like Byram for Zegras isn't a bad. And I think this is a good idea too. I personally think that, Wright has just not, you thought he would be given more minutes. He was thriving under Bilesma in the AHL. He took the next step down there, but he has not translated to the National Hockey League. Maybe he needs just to change the scenery. And Columbus needs center help. They do. They need forward help. Jiricek, I think it makes sense. I like the trade proposal.
Yeah, because it goes back to the draft. Like I said, Seattle were picking a defenseman. It was either Nemec or Jiricek.
And both were gone.
But Shane Wright fell to their lap. So,
yep.
And, they did the right thing at the time. They picked the best player available. But now, you look back on it, Dubois and Laine, they both got traded. They were in the same draft class, a little 1-for-1. Maybe this could happen again.
I think that's a very good possibility of a nice trade proposal there coming out, from Columbus to Seattle. Where else do you think he could go? I've heard Edmonton could make sense for him. What other spots? Nashville, do we think?
Yeah, look, what else had the best, He needs a good offer. I don't think Edmonton have what it takes to get him right now. Nashville, on the other hand, makes sense. They have some pieces in their system, and they have draft picks. They have 3 first-round picks this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yes.
And look, there's Nashville. There's even, like a team like Montreal, maybe. You can never have enough defensemen. Not just a wild card out there because maybe I want him here. But it makes him, like I like David Jiricek a lot. Big right-hand defenseman. He hasn't really got the chance in the NHL yet. So there's a lot to come for him. But Nashville makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously Provorov's name's out there tied to Edmonton too. Maybe because that's the asset maybe they can get because he'd be cheaper. Jiricek they may have to pay a little bit more for, but I think I think those are some nice landing spots for the nice young defenseman. We mentioned Boston off the top. Jim Montgomery out. I had Zig Fracassi was on the program as well. We talked Bruins, and 2 things I want to throw at you. Do you think changes are coming? A, and B, could you see a scenario where they walk away from Brad Marchand?
Look, I think everything's on the cards in Boston right now. I'm not exactly plugged in Boston, but, just reading the media and judging like the feeling in the city, I think everyone's on the table here except David Pastrnak.
I agree with that.
I also think they want to see how it's done with Joe Sacco right now. They want to see if he could be a head coach in the National Hockey League, but I don't think they're certain on this one.
No, because it reminds me of Pascal Vincent in Columbus. How many times was he passed over to be the head coach? Joe Sacco's been there since 2014. They've had 3 coaches since then. Claude Julien was there for a while. He was there. They fired him. They didn't go to Joe Sacco. They brought in Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy gets fired. They don't go to Joe Sacco. They go to Jim Montgomery. Now they finally go to him.
And I'm going to say one thing. Usually when you clear your coach, you clear the whole staff.
Yeah.
And another thing, the Jim Montgomery extension talk, nonsense.
I absolutely 100% agree. You saw what I said yesterday.
Yes, and I can't wait for him to clear up that rumor, when he speaks to the media for the first time. Because honestly, you're throwing him under the bus here.
100%.
You're trying to make it as, okay, he didn't want to be here, but I doubt it.
I doubt it. I mean, look, there's 2 sides to every story. But again, you talk to people in Boston. He never got to pick his own staff. And he never got input on the players on the roster. There's a lot of players on that roster that were there that fired Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah.
That room needs a culture shock.
No,
I think
Boston needs to hit reset here. And, I don't want to be that guy, but soon enough, everything's got to change. Even upper management upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
It might be time.
I think it's time. I think Don Sweeney's job's on the line. I think the drafting and the free agent signings and the overcompensation for missing in 2015 is coming back to bite this team in the butt.
Yeah, and look, in the offseason, they went to go get Elias Lindholm. They gave him big money, long-term. Same with Zadorov, and they've been a massive failure right now. And, I'm not knocking on the players, but to be honest, they got paid higher than their value.
Especially Zadorov.
Yeah, he really fit the Bruins what it means to be a
System. Yeah.
Bruin. But at the end of the day, it was bound to come in Boston. Every year we were kind of just slipping them out of the wild card.
Yeah.
And this year is just the year.
Yeah, it is the year. It is the year. And
So I'm not shocked. I'm not necessarily shocked.
I'm not shocked, but I think Sweeney is definitely on the hot seat finally. Like,
Yeah.
I think he knows it, but the fact that he came out and went, if there are guys here that don't want to be here, I'm going to try to move them. That signals to me that he knows what's going on in that room. And I'll have something coming out later today, but I said they need a Winnipeg Jets exorcism.
Yeah, I saw that. It makes sense.
Right? I mean, Blake Wheeler's gone. Look at this team now. Everybody's buying into the message.
Yeah, there was a whole, locker room problems with Wheeler, Line, Scheifele, a little. They got
click going on. A little click going on.
They kept Scheifele. And look, that Jets team, that's a room. That's a locker room. I would love to see, be a media person and see what's going on in that room in Winnipeg.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Boston, they look disoriented. They look over. It's like I'm looking at their expressions and their facial, like everything they're saying. It's like they played 60 games already.
Yeah. And that locker room just needs a shock. Like, they just need somebody to go, like Zig had mentioned, if you really want to be bold, maybe move out Charlie McAvoy, something like that. And get comparable pieces back in there. I mean, it was just, just throwing it out there, spitballing. But when you think about it, there's a handful of guys from that 2019 team that's still on there. There's some of those guys in that room, like I said, that went to management and said Bruce Cassidy was too hard on us.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And if they were too hard, and if Montgomery was too hard on them, that's shame on the player, because it's the same talk we've heard last year when Jake Woodcroft got fired. Oh, good guy on us, good man that got fired. Why don't you play better?
Yeah, at a certain point, players need to take accountability here.
Yeah.
And, it was a recipe for disaster, the whole Swayman saga.
Yeah.
I think it really, you saw it coming.
Yep.
There's so much drama before the season even starts. It's just a recipe for disaster in Boston.
Yeah. Too much podcast, too many shows, too many guys talking, un-Bruin-like culture. Think they need to get back to that all about the Bruin culture, not the all about me culture. So
and I'll ask you something on Bruins. Do you think the city can handle a rebuild?
They went through a Red Sox rebuild.
I
don't know if they can handle 3 at one time. That's the problem, because the Patriots are going through one. The Red Sox are kind of in one. But the Bees, I think, need to go through one.
Yeah, Boston fans are
they're in for a rude awakening after years of success.
But look, they said the same thing about Montreal. Could they handle a rebuild? We are.
If it's done the right way and the message is brought to the fans, if there's no message like we see in Pittsburgh, people are going to be like, what is going on?
Yeah,
but if you lay it out, then I think people are okay with it.
Yeah, hopefully Boston don't take that route, because their fans, man, right now, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They want to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, they do. Speaking of, we'll wrap up here, go around the circle here a little bit. Pittsburgh, Nashville, Detroit, coaches on the hot seat. Brunette, after what happened, another loss, 4th shutout. They get shut out for the 4th time this season. The egregious penalty to start the game when you send the wrong lineup out. Then you have Derek LeBlanc in Detroit and Mike Sullivan in Pittsburgh. Rank them on hot seat.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brunette, Lalonde, Sullivan. That's what I'm going to do here. And I think Brunette, you said it was you that said, I think, his road trip.
Yeah.
After that, you better hope they get a win here.
Yeah.
Because I think he's gone by Monday at this point.
I don't know if he gets to New Jersey. They come to New Jersey Monday. I don't know if Andrew Brunette's the coach Monday.
Yeah, and we're looking at, Lalonde too. Detroit, they need to make the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't look like a playoff team.
Nope.
At all. They're probably I have them 7th in the Atlantic, right in front of Montreal, like right now. Based on overall play, every other team in the Atlantic has been better, except Montreal, obviously. But Detroit, they've been bad for too long.
You can't lose to Anaheim. Can't lose to San Jose. those are games you can't lose.
And when you add high-profile players like Patrick Kane, Alex the Brinkat, saying that you're done rebuilding, they never really said it, but it's given. You have to make the playoffs. Last year they were close, but this year they're not even
competitive.
They're not the same team as last season at this time of the year, that's for sure.
Maybe too many new faces. The chemistry's gone. Guys got extensions. Guys need to step up. Do you think, and I agree, I think Sullivan's last on this list. I think Brunette and Lalonde are two guys that should be potentially looking for new work. And again, I always preface it by saying, and I didn't this time, but I do not like calling for people's jobs. This is part of the business. But you look at it and you analyze it, especially Detroit, their expectations were playoffs this year. They're not close right now. Same in Nashville. You bring new pieces. Things are just not clicking. The last Sullivan, I don't know. Does it get to a tipping point? Multiple people I've talked to, guys on the national media who've come out and said it. I agree with them, and this is what I heard Saturday night. If the Penguins had lost Saturday night, blowing a 3-0 lead, Mike Sullivan was not the head coach Sunday.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember watching that shootout, and I was like, yeah, they have to win this, man.
Yeah.
Because, it's one thing blowing a lead to the Edmonton Oilers or the Colorado Avalanche, but then the San Jose Sharks, it's just principle. That's all it is. And, even in Nashville, Brunette just got hired. So I don't know how long the leash is for him. So maybe I would probably change the ranking now that I think about it. I might have the lone number one.
Yeah, but still, he's been there. He was there last year. He was the coach last year. There was even talk last year of potential change. And I just think this team's underachieving. Now, is it on Barry Trotz because he put the pieces there? Yes. But at what point do we say that maybe Florida got it right when they decided to move on from Andrew Brunette because he can't make the adjustments that we saw he couldn't make against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the playoffs?
Yeah. And look, if you were to ask me in July if the Nashville Predators would struggle to score goals, I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
You went to go get 240 goals scored. No, they'll be fine. They'll be on top of the Central soon enough. But no, It hasn't worked out from top to bottom right now.
No, it hasn't.
So it's something to watch in Nashville. It's going to be interesting.
No, it definitely is going to be interesting. But guys, Full Press NHL podcast here. Quick rumors and touching on Montreal and New Jersey as well. Get it up on Full Press Hockey Podcast, up on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, as well as coming up on at Full Press NHL on Twitter as well. Jim Biringer here, David Calabretta. Guys, take care. We'll be back again next week.
Barry Trotz, Nashville Predators, making sure you're listening to Full Press Hockey Podcast.